Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee. In this show, we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, and Patreon, and contact Dayspring Discussions on the Facebook group, Twitter account, and dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. It is a hot and sunny day here in Austin, Texas. Hope everyone enjoyed the weekend. I could go on and on, guys, but I got a lot to go through today, so I want to get right to it. So, first off, everyone knows, if you follow me on social media, I spent my Friday going through Voltron Season 7 on Netflix. Usually, I don't like to watch a show all in just kind of like one day. I usually try to spread it out at least a couple days. Like with Luke Cage, I did like 2 episodes a night, or tried to do, just to not like, I guess you say blow my load all at once. But I couldn't stop watching it. I mean, obviously it's 13 episodes. They're only 25 minutes, so it's easy, especially when I have a day off, to watch it. That's pretty much what I'm going to spend most of today talking about. I might only get to that, actually. I have a couple of shows I could do, but I don't know if I'm going to get to them. So I'm going to start talking Voltron here in just a minute and go on. And if that's all I talk about today, I do apologize. I'll have more topics on Thursday. But first, reminder. Today, Avengers Infinity War comes out on Blu-ray and 4K and DVD and any other format you could think of. Of course, it came out a couple weeks ago on digital, but it's out in stores right now. I went this morning to pick up my copy. You guys should go do the same. Just as an FYI, Target has a 10% off if you have the Target Cartwheel app. Now, I usually don't do the Cartwheel app, even though I go to Target all the time. My wife does, but with Target Cartwheel, I just downloaded it, signed in my wife's account, got the 10% off. Of course, used my Target Red card to get another 5% off, and then I just deleted the app. That's just me. But in any event, go pick it up. I'm planning on going through some special features and possibly watching part of the movie tonight. We'll see what I get to, but go do that, guys, right after you listen to me talk about Voltron. So, Season 7, Voltron Legendary Defender came out Friday on Netflix. Guys, I'm doing spoilers. If you have not watched the season, pause, go watch it. Come back later, share your thoughts on social media and the Gmail account, because I really do want to hear them. There's a lot of stuff going on in the season, both within the story and really with just the season itself, which we're going to talk about. I honestly don't know which part I should talk about first, the story and the actual season, or the kind of fandom controversy that is surrounding the season. It's tough, but I'm going to go with bad news first. I'm the type of guy, if you give me good news, bad news, I always want the bad news first and then cushion it with the good news. Now, when Voltron was getting previewed at Comic-Con this year, the story creators or show producers or whatever you want to call them kind of previewed that Shiro had a possible gay relationship, which got some fans excited with the diversity of the characters and making, the more representative of the people in the audience. And I thought it was fine. Totally okay with that. Then the season came and we did get that one little part of Shiro's backstory. Now, Shiro, of course, we learned that he was coming down with a degenerative disease, and the reason he wanted to go on the mission so badly with Sam and Pidge's brother Matt was that he knew his time was running out to do such a mission, to work with the garrison was running out. And he had this friend, partner, they don't really exactly say it, but it's implied that Adam was Shiro's partner, his boyfriend. So they had that flashback scene where Shiro feels like he has to go, he has to do this. And Adam, says, well, I think it's the wrong idea and I'm not going to wait for you. And pretty much they break up. So we flash forward to the present, and Adam is part of the pilots that fight against Sendak when he brings his fleet to take over Earth, and he dies. Shiro comes back with Voltron, and he learns of Adam's death and mourns him. So this was the story, and some fans have been vocal on social media about how they thought that the term queerbait was implied with this storyline, thinking that Shiro's relationship with Adam was going to be a bigger part of the story. They didn't like how it was handled, and just overall they thought that Netflix and the showrunners and everyone involved, misinterpreted or misled them, and so far as to attacking people that work on the show on social media, on Twitter. Now, of course, my disclaimer is always that I am a white, male, heterosexual, so my perception is very different from other people's. So I can only comment on my side of things. I like to think I'm very, open-minded and can at least be, as sympathetic and try to step out of my shoes into other people's shoes. But again, this is just a disclaimer. I don't know, other people's perspective. I can only, go from my perspective, and what I try or think about might be somebody else's perception of the events. So with me, I never saw them as saying, yes, it is going to be a big part of the show. I never got that from the previews. I was watching the show. It wasn't until after I was done watching the whole season that I hopped on Twitter to share my thoughts, and I saw everyone else's perception of the series or the season and the relationship, and feeling that Netflix had misled them just so they would watch the show and they could get the viewers. Now, a part of me says, I don't know, I think they're blown out of proportion, but also if you look on the Netflix website under Voltron Legendary Defender, their picture that represents the series is a picture of Shiro and Adam. I mean, you can't, be more misleading than that. It's the picture that represents your show. And granted, of course, it changes, but even if you were to look at it from a season perspective, that picture does not represent the season 7 of Voltron. So, yeah, I think Netflix, at least with this picture, is being a bit misleading. There is some, I think, maybe a little bit of fault with Netflix and people, setting people's expectations as to what this season was going to be about in regards to Shiro and Adam. So while I do believe Netflix and maybe the showrunners might have accidentally misinterpreted Shiro and Adam's importance in the season, I think it's also has to do with fandom and their expectations, okay? It's good to have theories. It's good to have expectations, what you hope happens in a movie or a TV series that you're looking forward to. But when the creators of the show go a different way and don't meet your expectations, it's not cool to lash out at them. Maybe they plan on expanding it more. I don't know. I know there was a letter, I think it was from Mr. Montgomery, who penned an open letter kind of apologizing to the fans, but also saying, hey, we didn't want to mislead you. We're sorry if we did, but, it's not all our fault. And I think it was, kind of warranted. Through all the previews of Voltron Season 7, I never got the idea that Shiro and Adam were going to be a main crux of this season. But, again, I'm sitting here staring at the Netflix site, and there's a picture of Shiro and Adam representing the show, and I gotta decide. I mean, yeah, you need to change that picture, in my opinion, if you don't want people angry with you about how little the Adam and Shiro relationship is. But again, I'm not upset about it. Some people are. It's understandable. Sometimes maybe a little too much, but I think there are little nuggets of fault everywhere throughout this, both with the creators and both with the fandom, and we just got to accept it for what it is. With that being said, Voltron Season 7 rocked! Oh my God, guys, how awesome was this season? Now, as I've said before, I grew up on Voltron. When they said they were doing a Voltron Netflix revision, I thought it was cool. I really enjoyed season 1 and 2. Season 3 happened a little too fast for me with the way Keith took over the Black Lion and Allura took over the Blue Lion. It was all a little too fast. It was like 2 episodes and we were done with that. And then you had seasons 4, 5, and 6. So seasons 3, 4, and 5 were honestly a little lackluster for me. I know that's when they switched to the only 7 episode seasons, which I wasn't a big fan of. But with season 6, man, when Shiro had the turn, it was all good, and I just loved it. And this really built off of it. So at the end of season 6, Shiro conscious goes back into his body, so we get the real Shiro back. Granted, he's missing an arm. You got the Castle of Lions destroyed. You got Lotor trapped in the quintessence field, I guess is what it is. And the Paladins are going to Earth to try to rebuild a new Castle of Lions. And we find out that it's taking a long time to get there. And that's about half of what this season is them trying to get to Earth and the things they encounter along the way, the troubles they have. And they come to find out that coming out of that quintessence field wasn't instantaneous, okay? They had been gone for 3 years, and the galaxy's a little different with them gone. And of course, the season wasn't perfect. As I said, a couple of things I didn't enjoy. I mean, going 13 episodes, I didn't enjoy the 7 episodes, but one thing that Netflix shows have been doing is, I think, relying too much on 13 episodes, where really you could do 10 episodes. We just got news that Iron Fist season 2 is going to be 10 episodes, which I think is great. I complain a lot about, like, say, the CW shows where there's have to be 22, 23 episodes a season, and you get these filler episodes. I hate it. Now it almost seems like some of the Netflix shows or the cable shows are doing that too, with, like, say, Luke Cage season 2, I thought there was a couple filler episodes. So going to this, there were a couple filler episodes. I mean, episode 4, where they did the whole game show thing, while I think was, somewhat amusing, was unnecessary. I'm a grander schemes kind of guy, the big picture kind of guy, and that did not fit into the bigger story of what season 7 was at all. It was kind of a detractor, a light tone to break up the drama of the season. That's great. That's not what I like. They did the same thing last season with season 3 with the whole fairy tales episode, and that was only 7 episodes. We don't need a breakup episode or a relaxed episode. We only have 7 seasons in 7 episodes in a season. Excuse me. And then the other one was episode 6, was it? Yeah, The Journey Within, where the Paladins, they were just kind of stuck in space, just kind of relying on each other, and they were having fights. And honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that at the end of the episode, that was the first time they'd formed Voltron since leaving the quintessence field at the end of season 6, I would have called that almost a throwaway episode as well, but that happened at the end. So really, if you go back and rewatch, or when I rewatched this last season, I'm skipping episode 4 because it does nothing for the greater grand scheme of things. I thought maybe that this godlike character who put them on the game show was going to, come into play later on. Maybe later on in the series, that'd be great, but not in this season. One thing I love about going to another animated series is Star Wars Rebels. Dave Filoni introduced space whales, and honestly, I thought the episode was stupid. I didn't like the space whales episode when they were introduced, but he used them later on as a way to help the grander narrative, and I'm hoping the creators or showrunners at Voltron are, playing the same kind of game where they're going to use that godlike character later on to help the Paladins. At least that's my hope, and maybe vindicate this episode that I thought was an utter waste of this season. Now, however, the rest of the season was pretty darn cool. You got in episode 1, they got stuck on a planet where they were miniaturized, which didn't really do too much for me, but you got flashbacks of Keith and Shiro's relationship, their big brother, little brother bond, and, Shiro's past, Keith's past. And then, of course, episode 3, you're in the one where the Paladins are kind of trapped and captured, and it's up to Karan really to save them. Now we get to The Last Stand, and it's part 1 and part 2, where basically you find out what is going on in Earth since Sam, Pidge's dad, got back to Earth. He comes back with a bunch of information as far as what the Galra have been doing for thousands of years to the rest of the galaxy. He's got information about Voltron and trying to prepare Earth for the invasion. Of course, you got, I'm going to call her Colonel Douchebag, just kind of fighting him every along the way. And you come to find out later on that she's betrayed the Earth. And, you know, of course, she flips at the end and all that other stuff. But she was a bitch. I hated her. So, you know, of course, she became a hero at the end. But she was a bitch. And there's always that character in these type of movies that refuse to accept the reality of what's going on. And it's usually a higher up that, you know, doesn't want to do that. I'm sorry, I don't have names here too, because normally I have IMDb page open with all the character names or any other thing that I, you know, need to reference. But IMDb hasn't put any of the actors or characterizations up on their site for this latest season. Maybe somebody's slacking, I don't know. So with this two-parter as well, you do have the introduction of the young pilots. Now, one of them, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that Keith got into a fight with in the flashback in episode 1, kind of the hotshot pilot that Keith punched out because he made fun of his parents. I believe that's the same pilot who helps, you know, fly the new planes that are armed with the newer technology and, of course, become a big part later down the line. And I wish I remember their names, but I'm really bad with names. Ask my customers that I help at work. I'm really bad with names. But, yeah, so that was nice. I like the introduction of them, and I can almost see possible spin-off material there with that crew. And also, for a second there, I had to go, and I was watching the episode, and I was like, wait a minute. Are these the guys become the other Voltron? Because growing up, you had the Lion Voltron and then you had the Car Voltron, where they were cars that formed a Voltron. And I had to go look up their characters, and I don't think their character names fit properly, so it wasn't them. But I do like how they form together, and I can definitely see some kind of spin-off or them possibly having their own adventures, maybe later down the road. So the Paladins make it to Earth, and kind of what I thought this season was going to happen was with Voltron, the Paladins returning to Earth, that there was going to be some conflict between them and the actual garrison, you know, the people running Earth, I guess you could say, to where, you know, we just know these cadets, you know, when they left Lance, Pidge, Keith, Hunk, they were all just kids, you know, and if they're like late teens, you know, what are they doing out saving the galaxy? What do they know? So when they would come back, I was going to think they might have some hostility. And it's really, you got a little bit of that. Basically, when they come back, Earth has been at war with the Galra for, you know, a year or more. And they show up and kind of, you know, trying to tell them what they need to do. And there's a little bit of a backlash with the garrison saying, you haven't been here, you don't know what we've been through, you don't know how to fight them. And there's that, you know, different perspective between them, but eventually they all do come together, besides Colonel Douchebag, and decide to go fight the Galra. And along the way, you find out, you know, what happened to Lance's family, what happened to Hunk's family. We finally got to meet Pidge's mom, which I thought was a great addition to the show, especially in those flashback episodes. And it's cool that Lance's sister was helping with the resistance, part of the movement. It was really a great scene when Lance got to see his family again. And then Hunk deciding to go out and try to save his own family. Keith decided that he wasn't going to let him go alone. Of course, you know, strengthening those bonds between the Paladins. And, you know, that's why I didn't like that one episode where they were stuck in space and they were fighting each other. Like, are we really friends? Come on, guys. You've been together for, what, probably 2 years, 3 years at this point, okay? You're family. You're Voltron. You belong together, okay? Don't give me this, are we really friends? that's a bunch of baloney. Keith going and helping Hunk to go rescue his family, that's truly, I believe that bond between them at this point. Now, when the battle starts, this is kind of, I guess, a problem, I guess you would say, I had when the season went on, was it was too convenient when things happen. Now, I'm always a fan, of course. I love it when the Bayard port pops up in the Paladin line. I'm like, okay, new power coming, new power, what are they going to do? And in this one, it popped up. I remember I popped up, I paused it, and I went on Twitter and I was like, new Bayard, I'm always excited. What's going to happen? Turns out, Voltron gets double blades, which is cool. I'm always excited by that. But also, sometimes it's a little convenient, where it's like, okay, they're in trouble, how are they going to use their wits to get out of it? And instead it's like, they're in trouble, oh, look at this new power that conveniently helps them out in this scenario, But to that, I will say people who are naysayers in regards to The Last Jedi, talking about the force projections and Yoda striking the lightning on the tree and all these new force powers that occurred or premiered in The Last Jedi. It's kind of the same thing, because they've described the quintessence kind of in this season as kind of like the Force. They say it's an energy field created by all living things, and the Alteans and even the Paladins are almost like Force users channeling this energy through everything. So I can't get too angry at it because I'm not too angry at Star Wars for doing it, so I can't get angry for Voltron kind of doing the same thing, because I think in Star Wars there's still a lot we don't know about the Force that is to come, and I got to think the same way about Voltron and Quintessence. There's so much, it's a magical life force. I mean, it's life, it's the universe itself, so it can do anything the hell it wants. But the Paladins were able to pilot their lions without actually being in them. And then, of course, you had Atlas, the giant ship, turn into a giant, transforming monster with Shiro's help and the little quintessence crystal that Allura gave him to help power his new arm. That was cool, but don't you think it was a little weird, though, too, that even though Atlas got turned into this giant robot, 3 times the size of the Robeast and Voltron, in the end, they still needed Voltron to save him, which I'm not too upset about because it is Voltron. That's the name of the show. So Voltron and the Paladins, in the end, they have to be the heroes. So in the end, lo and behold, Sadak is defeated, the Robeast is defeated, and, Earth is safe, and you see all these people from the past coming in and, kind of making Earth a safe haven. Though we know parts of the Galra Empire are still out there, and I'm sure we're going to see them defeated as well. And then we get the little teaser at the end when they recover parts of the Robeast. Come to find out, it's an Altean on the inside. Let's do some shipping, okay? Lance and Allura. It's been building. If you would have asked me in season 2 or even season 1, I thought it was going to be Allura and Keith, because in the original series, Defender of the Universe, it was Keith and Allura. And Lance probably, as much as I love Keith and Shiro, I got to say, if people were to say to describe me, they describe me probably most like Lance. So in that regard, I do have that little bit of favoritism towards Lance. So I got to, ship that, and I'm glad that's coming to fruition, and I'm really glad hopefully we'll see that fully embraced in season 8. But also, as far as Paladin relationships, I think I forgot to mention this in my season 6 review, there was that one season where Pidge and Hunk were talking or arguing about something, and Pidge Dad's walks by and he's like, arguing, that's how me and my wife started, or something like that. So almost hinting at a possible relationship with Hunk and Pidge coming up. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they put it in there like that, so I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But also at the end of this season, you had Hunk was, what's the word I'm looking for, kind of a crush on that alien girl from season 1. I don't remember her name, of course, but we saw her come back. So whether she's going to come back and play a part in this next season, you have Keith with the Galmera operative. Again, names elude me. I do apologize. She's obviously got a crush on Keith. Keith is half Gora, so it would make sense. And there are things a blooming. Maybe even some of the new pilots for the Garrison might work into the mix. I hope they keep them around. I do like them. I don't think they're as eccentric personalities as the Paladins, but this show is about the Paladins of Voltron. So really, as long as they stay center stage, I'm okay with that. Okay, so just to talk the ending a little bit here, guys. Let's figure this all out here, because the Altean was inside the Robies, and I'm sitting here, I'm doing laundry while I'm watching the episodes, and all of a sudden I see this thing fall out of the sky, and it's the Robeast, right? I'm like, okay, they're going to fight the Robeast. And I didn't know, like, did I miss something? Where did it come from? And they're like, where did this thing come from? So I don't think I'm alone with it. If I missed that, 10, 30-second thing where before it fell out of the sky, please, fire back and let me know if I missed a piece. I'm sure if it is, when I go back and rewatch it, I'll figure it out then, guys. But I think we can all assume that the Robeast came from Hagar. She's been missing from season 7. We saw Lotor's, minions, assassin squads, whatever you want to call them. They were in a couple episodes, but Hagar has been missing. We know 3 years have passed. We don't know what happened to her. So it's my assumption that she sent the Robeast to there, and she's got some Alteans with her. She was all about, with Zarkon, messing with the Alteans, and same thing with Lotor. So I think she's got some Alteans, and now it's up to Allura and the rest of the Paladins to go save her people. Because really, at this point, Keith, Pidge, Hunk, Lance, they owe her, right? Am I right? Because she just helped, with the help of Voltron, save their people. Now it's time for them to go help Allura save her people. And that's what I think this last season is going to be about. Of course, they're going to run into some Gora. Probably, of course, Hagar is going to be a big part of it. And I'm still not convinced that both Zarkon and Lotor are gone. I mean, Lotor is trapped in the quintessence field, but, it's sci-fi. People come back. Zarkon is probably less likely, especially if Lotor is, going to be featured. But I can see that Lotor definitely coming back and, helping Hagar try to take down Voltron. But we only have 13 episodes left, and then the series is over. And for the most part, I'm ecstatic with it, guys. I really enjoyed this season. Just a lot of good plot points. There were several times throughout this that I was, talking out loud to my TV. And if I do that, I'm really into a show. Okay, guys, and that is going to be it for me today. As I predicted, I ran long, and all I had time to talk about today was Voltron. Can you really blame me? I mean, if you were following me on social media at all on Friday, you knew I was getting excited about this stuff, and you kind of figured this is all I was going to talk about. So if you have not finished Voltron Season 7, I spoiled it for you, so I'm not sorry because I gave you the warning, so it's your own fault. But even though you know everything that happens, go back and watch it, guys. I'm going to go back and rewatch it. So I don't know. Of course, tonight I'm going through Infinity War, so maybe sometime this week, maybe if I'm bored at some point, if I have the time, we'll see. But go rewatch it, check it out. It's a great sci-fi series, guys. All I can say is this has definitely become one of my favorite series to watch. It's a great fantasy sci-fi show, and I recommend it to anyone who enjoys the genre. But fire back, let me know what were some of your favorite moments from this season. What were some of your least favorite things about this season? And of course, I am open to comments about the whole fandom controversy with Shiro and Adam. I get both sides of it, so I like to think I'm more in the middle with everything. But guys, even if, you felt like you were misled or, didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to, I still feel that is no excuse to attack showrunners who have given us 7 seasons of great characters and great stories. So please remember, I know you may be angry or upset, but we're all people. We all have feelings. We're all just trying to do the best we can. So just, express your differences, but please, don't give in to hate, because that leads to the dark side of the Force. as Obi-Wan says, of course. So that's it for me today, guys. Of course, you can find me, Slim Dayspring 12 on Twitter and Instagram. And that's it. Until Thursday, may the Force be with us all.